Worst royal engagement I ever did, a royal wedding I ever did. And I travelled the world with him and I did really enjoy working with him. But now I really don't care if I ever see him again, because the way he's behaved towards the king and our queen and his brother and his sister-in-law is appalling.
Forget the fairy tale you watched on TV. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's royal wedding wasn't a celebration. It was a show, a production built for lenses and headlines. The gleaming carriages, the soaring music, the glamorous reaction shots, all polish, all performance. Behind the curtain, royal photographer Arthur Edwards says it was something else entirely.
All my life, and then Oprah Winfrey had met them once. She was a guest. The Clooneys, the guests. I mean, never met them before, but they were the guests. And, I thought to myself, this is all showbiz rubbish.
Disorder, discomfort, and a slap at tradition. Guests wilted in the heat, packed into heavy coats and gowns, trying not to pass out. Senior royals, people who'd given decades, were pushed to the back. Hand up front.
Oh, I was there. Hated the day. The day was a miserable day. I mean, it was a worst royal engagement I ever did, a royal wedding I ever did.
A parade of Hollywood faces and industry acquaintances strutting through prime seats like it was their own runway. On television, it sparkled like a dream. Millions tuned in, convinced they were witnessing a modern royal love story.
The photographers they engaged for the job was 5 feet away, it was just hopeless. And then the carriage shot, when they went past me in the carriage, they looked the other way. So for me, it was a disaster.
But those who were actually there saw something very different. Arthur Edwards, who has photographed every major royal event for decades, called it the worst royal wedding I ever worked. Instead of joy, the atmosphere was stifling.
I felt so. I felt, it wasn't just me, it was the whole of the British press. They were in many ways badly treated. I think it was, Harry was angry with us really, because some of the things that had been said about Meghan, and quite rightly, some of the things that were said about Meghan during the engagement were pretty harsh.
Guests were crammed into Windsor under sweltering heat, forced to sit for hours as sweat poured down their designer outfits. Women fanned themselves desperately, makeup streaking down their faces. Men shifted uncomfortably in tailored suits that felt more like cages than clothing.
I have to say, though, that first year of Meghan, working with her on the road, we went all over the country. She was incredible. I mean, I thought she was a great asset to the family.
The elegance you saw on screen was, in reality, survival. And the seating plan? That's where the disrespect cut deepest. Lifelong royals and servants of the crown, people who had carried out decades of duty, were shoved to the back rows.
And then when the baby was born, when Archie was born, that was another, in my view, a disaster, because I knew we was not going to get a picture of it. Everybody was hoping we would get pictures of it.
Meanwhile, Hollywood celebrities who had barely even met Meghan and Harry strutted into prime seats at the front. Oprah, the Clooneys, industry names with no history, no loyalty, but the right kind of fame for the cameras.
And it's one of the saddest things of all, Matt, of course, is that the children don't get to see their grandfather. That's really so awful, because they're not getting to meet their cousins and to know their cousins. Such a shame for them.
For Edwards and many others, the message couldn't have been clearer. This wasn't about honoring tradition. It wasn't about family. It was about optics. The right shot, the perfect headline. A royal wedding recast as a Hollywood spectacle. And if guests thought things would improve at the reception...
The first pictures of Archie that was taken by the Press Association, I showed her on my phone, and that was the first time she saw him, so it was a difficult time.
They were about to be shocked again. Royal weddings are supposed to overflow with grandeur. Lavish banquets, champagne fountains, tables groaning under the weight of endless dishes. It's tradition, a reminder of centuries of royal abundance. But Meghan and Harry's reception left guests whispering in disbelief.
She delivered it like an actress delivered it, and Oprah responded going, wow.
Instead of feasting, attendees were handed bite-sized canapes and dainty macarons. Finger foods so tiny they barely filled a plate, let alone satisfied anyone dressed in 1,000-pound gowns and tailored suits.
So he was angry, and I felt we were punished for that. In fact, I never got one picture in the paper published from that day.
Arthur Edwards himself didn't hold back. He called the portions pathetic, a far cry from the royal spreads he'd seen at weddings before. For many, it felt symbolic. The so-called wedding of the decade served up crumbs. Style over substance, presentation over hospitality.
Harry was determined to keep the newspapers away from it as much as possible. Everything was done on long lenses. I mean, Akaito had an 800mm lens photographing the guests arriving.
Guests expecting tradition and warmth walked away hungry, unimpressed, and quietly fuming. What was supposed to be a banquet fit for royalty ended up looking more like a cocktail party staged for glossy magazine photos. But the food wasn't the only thing that left people stunned. Harry himself turned the day into a battle, this time against the very press that had celebrated him for years.
When I think I've done some really lovely royal weddings. I did both King Charles's weddings, I did William's wedding, I did Andrew's wedding, I did Sophie and Edward, I mean, they were lovely occasions, but that today, I couldn't get out of Windsor quick enough, I promise you that
The
day.
worst royal wedding to cover.
Yeah.
Photographers live for royal weddings. They're supposed to capture history, smiles, glances, iconic carriage rides. But Harry made sure that didn't happen. Edwards revealed he couldn't get a single usable picture. Not one. Harry refused to look at the cameras. During the carriage procession, he turned his head the other way, almost deliberately blocking shots.
I mean, obviously, when William was born and Harry was born and George and Charlotte and Louis, we got great pictures outside the hospital. I remember, and William and Catherine especially, they made such an effort to show the whole world their new baby.
For Edwards, who had photographed Charles, Diana, William, and Kate with ease, it was unprecedented. He called it sabotage, plain and simple. And it wasn't just frustration, it was revenge. Harry blamed the media for Meghan's rough treatment in the press and used his wedding as payback. A day meant for joy and unity became a silent war.
I knew they'd be seething. I knew the Queen would be seething. I knew that the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles would be seething. It would be so unfair.
Instead of embracing tradition, Harry weaponized it, turning his family's proudest institution into his own battleground. But the hostility didn't stop there. In fact, the wedding was only the start of a much deeper fracture. Weddings are supposed to unite families, but Meghan and Harry's seemed to do the opposite. Royal relatives, who had stood by the crown for decades, were treated as afterthoughts. Invitations to stay at royal estates were brushed aside as Harry demanded private hotels and security to keep control. Grandparents who longed to see their grandchildren were kept at arm's length. Cousins missed milestones. Bonds that should have lasted generations were broken before they even began. Edwards described it as heartbreaking, an entire family watching children grow up as strangers. And the sting was sharper because of the hypocrisy. In public, Meghan and Harry preached compassion, connection, and the importance of family. But in private, they were cutting off their own blood, brick by brick. If the wedding had revealed cracks, what came next smashed the royal family's image worldwide. When sympathy for the couple started to fade, Meghan and Harry reignited the drama with a move no one expected: the Oprah interview. Marketed as an open conversation, it turned into a global spectacle. They accused the royal family of racism and cruelty, painting themselves as victims in a narrative no one else could respond to. For viewers, it was explosive. For the monarchy, it was devastating. Edwards didn't mince words. He called it a stunt. Not a conversation, not healing, just another carefully staged performance. The world tuned in thinking they'd see raw honesty. Instead, it was primetime drama designed to keep the spotlight fixed on Harry and Meghan. And while the interview won headlines, it burned bridges beyond repair. Looking back, Arthur Edwards believes the wedding wasn't just a disaster, it was a roadmap. The celebrity front rows, the war with the press, the staged optics, the family fractures. Everything that followed, Spotify, Netflix, the endless interviews, mirrored the same pattern: scandal, chaos, and performance packaged as authenticity. For critics, the wedding proved what Meghan and Harry really wanted: not to uphold tradition, but to rewrite it in their image. Not to strengthen the monarchy, but to brand themselves as outsiders, victims, and celebrities in their own right. The fairy tale millions believed in was never about love and duty. It was about spectacle and control. Arthur Edwards summed it up best. It wasn't a wedding, it was a performance. Guests baked in the heat, dignitaries were shoved aside, photographers were punished, and family bonds were broken. Instead of honoring centuries of royal tradition, Meghan and Harry turned their union into a launchpad for their own brand. And what began that day didn't end with vows. It was only the opening act of a circus that continues to this very moment. But here's the real question. Was this a one-off disaster or the exact strategy Meghan and Harry planned all along? Because if you thought the wedding was messy, wait until you see what happened when Trevor Noah tore into Meghan Markle live on stage. That video is up right now on Star Spotlight. Click it. You don't want to miss what he said.